So it really comes to no surprise that ESPN fired Shannon Sharpe. Like it was that's not a surprise. But fellas, I'm gonna say this right now. I'm looking straight into the camera. This is a wake up call, bro. Like no lie. Like this is a wake up call because I feel like even though Shannon Sharpe, he's a celebrity and he has a name for himself. The sexual lack of self control, that's not it's not just a Shannon Sharpe issue, right? Like it's literally a issue that a lot of us men deal with. And obviously he's on the platform, but and he has his own show and all this other stuff, and he got fired, and we're looking at him like, oh well, he didn't learn his lesson, and I've seen all these comments, but to be honest, bro, like real talk, this is a lot of this is the downfall for a lot of men. To be 100%, like sexual, the lack of sexual control and self-control has been the downfall of a lot of men. Like this isn't nothing new. Like even y'all could even look in the Bible. Y'all can even look in the Bible and see that there's been men that's fallen short due to a lack of sexual self-control, right? So I just want to break this down from a licensed therapist perspective and give you guys some insight on what we can learn from this because again, I feel like there's a lot of gems we need to take away from this. And we just need to wake up. Like, fellas, we need to wake all the way up. We need to wake up and turn up because like we can't continue to just fall into lust like this. You know what I mean? Like we cannot continue to fall into lust and we I feel like as men, if we can conquer that, we will do so much better. I promise you. I promise you. I put my Denzel American Gangster guarantee on that. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. But first and foremost, welcome. For those who are new, my name is Terrence Stewart. I'm a licensed therapist. And what we talk about in this channel is faith, mental health, and relationships. And I wanted to bring this concept up and talk about Shannon Sharpe again because there's a lot of lessons to be learned from this. 100%, a lot of lessons to be learned from this. From a licensed therapist perspective, one thing I would like to say about just Shannon Sharpe's incident in general is how impulse control is super important. And I think one of the biggest impulses that's hard for not even just men, but women to actually control is a sexual desire. It is hard for a man or a woman to actually control that sexual desire. And a lot of times, this is where we normalize this. Okay, well, I can just give into sexual desire. You look at social media, there's a lot of triggers where, women may be wearing certain things or men may put off a provoking posts or things of that nature. And we kind of look at it as being normal now. Like it's okay to have sex with anybody. It's okay to just fall into lust. It's okay just to not have some self-control when it comes to sex. Like it's so normalized in our culture now to where we actually don't see it as an issue. I don't feel like as a culture we don't see it as an issue because if we saw it as an issue, then we were trying to work towards a solution. So but again, it's easier said than done. 100%. It's easier said than done to try to control your impulses when it comes to sexual desires, right? And this is one of the things that God created us with. God literally created us with the desire to have sex, and God created sex. But comes with with sex comes the free will, right? And sex was obviously meant to procreate and all this great stuff so that we can multiply and be fruitful, right? But there is some gratification in sex, right? There's a lot of dopamine that comes in our brain. There's a lot of it's like a hit, it's like a drug. Like some folks knock people that use substances, cocaine, meth, fentanyl, things of that nature. But those same dopamines that we get a hit from, you get from a sexual desire, you get from your body releasing the gratification of having sex. So we can't knock people who have substance abuse if we find sex being pleasurable. This is also unhealthy sexual behavior to get into situations such as like Shannon Sharpe. Um, there was a point, obviously, the part of the allegations allegedly was the settlement for the sexual assault, and the sexual assault came out more so after there was the young lady, she recorded one of their conversations, and he like made a threat of some sort. So when he made that threat, obviously that went viral. He had a response to it, and once he responded to it, people were like, oh, "Okay, well, that was him. He actually did it," and all this other stuff. One of the things even with Shannon Sharpe, I wanted to highlight because I think even I'm gonna hold myself accountable with this as well too. When he started to get on this, I'm gonna say this high horse. I'm just saying this high horse, no pun intended. But when he started getting on this high horse of his own like sexual um, interests, I'm gonna just use that word, his own sexual interests. Um, we probably seen the video where he went live, right? He went live on accident, allegedly. He went live, and we heard him having sex with a woman, and how that blew up, and we didn't take it as like, oh well, Shannon Sharpe, he needs to control himself, he needs to do better. We took it as like, oh damn, that's kind of funny. As some people was like, dang, like that boy was getting it in. You know what I mean? Like he was actually like getting it in. So we didn't take that as a moment where it was like, oh well, maybe because even leading up to that, like he's always had these jokes and these things. And that. Again, I'm holding myself accountable because I thought it was hella funny. I'm not gonna say I'm sitting here like judging at all, but I was part of the audience as well too, looking at it like, damn, that's kind of funny. Like Nightcap, early on with Shannon Sharpe and Ocho Cinco, hilarious. Hilarious. I remember I was showing my fiance some of the clips. I'm like, this guy Shannon Sharpe is a fool. He's a straight fool. He's a dog. He's a fool. And again, when we take into context, I don't think we saw the underline with this. Like we didn't see Shannon Sharpe being as like a aggressive man. Like obviously in the bedroom, he would say he does his thing and he has Keisha come through and all this other stuff. And I don't need no lingerie, just wear a t-shirt type of stuff. And we didn't take that as okay, well, maybe Shannon Sharpe is dealing with some things, or maybe he has a lot of sexual impulses and excuse me, a lack of self control when it comes to sex. Like we didn't see it as that until these allegations came up and he settled in court for the sexual assault case. And then we're looking at him like, oh well, he was a rapist and he was this and he was that, and but Shannon Sharpe is a representation of a lot of men. Again, I feel like a lot of men, we do fall short of these sexual desires. I fell short in previous relationships myself. I ain't gonna hold you either. I'm not making this video to put Shannon Sharpe at this as this horrible person. I don't think he's a horrible person. I feel like he's again a representation of a lot what a lot of men go through when it comes to lust, temptation, and a lack of that sexual impulse and control. And again, it is hard to actually break and work through, right? A lot of times, a lot of men, we have this hypersexual nature because of our trauma. Some of us have been sexual assaulted. Some of us have witnessed other men be the same towards women. So it's like a learned behavior. So when we talk about again, when I'm talking about Shannon Sharpe, I'm not coming from the standpoint of like he's a horrible person. I don't think he's a horrible person, but I feel like there is a lack of sexual impulses that he has that a lot of men have. And we've seen this with a lot of other celebrities as well too. But the thing that irritates me about this more so is, and I'm just coming from a personal level and kind of taking my therapy hat on and off, is like there's been a trend. There's literally been a trend of black men's downfall being the vagina. Like black men's downfall have been vagina for a very, very long time. And the part that irritates me the most isn't necessarily like the downfall, but just like when we get to a certain point, a lot of us are entertainers or musicians or we're in some form of entertainment. But the downfall is that we get into these situations um, that involve sexual immorality, and it puts us, it just knocks us off. Like I understand Shannon Sharpe, even though he's gotten, and I'm just using this as an example, like he's gotten fired from ESPN, but I know he has a lot of other platforms that he is on, and he has his own platform, the Nightcap. So is he going to be okay? I'm a betting man that he is. He has other businesses and other ventures. So ESPN was a lead up to him being successful, but it's also served his purpose. So, and I'm saying that, I'm kind of on a tangent, but I'm saying that because even though he may have knocked all the way down, it's not a good look on his reputation. And that's the part where I've said this in other videos where Big Sean, one of his verses when he has a song with Nipsey, was his mom told him it only takes one time you mess up your whole Wikipedia. You know, if you Google his name, it's probably going to be associated with these charges, which sucks because he has a lot of other endeavors and a lot of great things that he did. But this is where men, again, we have to take into account how these sexual impulses, these temptations that we have to take a stand and a grasp on it for real. Like we can't just be out there just talking to any woman. We can't just be out there messing with any girl. We can't just be out there doing all this stuff, especially, especially when you get to a certain point in your life. You know, I'm not gonna say it's more understandable when you're young because obviously, I mean, I still feel like I'm young. I'm still young, but I got some wisdom to me for sure. You know what I mean? I'm not no little boy or no little kid for sure. But the times where I was, younger in my early 20s and things of that nature, even a teenager, you have these lusts, you have these desires, you have these mysterious things, and you're very curious, right? But when we get to a certain age, fellas, like we have to put these childish things behind us, and that includes it's not just childish things as I'm putting away my toys and I'm putting away this, but it's even when God talks about when God talks about it in the Bible and it's spoken on, um, ah, I gotta go back and read who actually wrote this, but so don't quote me on who wrote it, but it says something along the lines of like, as I became a man, I put away childish things, right? And when you put away childish things, it's not just again toys and video games. It's like the mindset that you have to put away. You have to put away a childish mindset because if you don't put away the childish mindset, things happen like this. And I think the childish mindset when it comes to our sexual immorality and our lack of self-control is that as men, we don't switch that boy mentality of these impulse controls with our our libido, our sexual organs. And what we can learn from this is, I would say, so many different things, but just from a perspective of a licensed therapist, putting that hat back on is how important choices are in your life and how important the women that you choose to be with can put a damper into your whole reputation. One of the most important, this is just more on the marriage landscape is the most important man, excuse me, the most important decision a man can make is who they choose to be with. And if you're out here just being with anybody or just getting married for the sake of getting married, it's just not gonna work. That's just not how things play out. But again, fellas, this got to be a wake up call, man. Like we can't keep falling down. We can't keep falling to temptation. We just can't keep doing it, man. I'm literally getting to a point now where it's like it's getting exhausting. It's getting exhausting. And we are some really good men. Again, you can make a poor decision and be a great person, but the poor decision is gonna outweigh you being that great person. But I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, do all the great things, keep these videos going. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. If Shannon Sharpe, and if there's is he a representation of other men? Should we be giving this as much attention as it is being given? And maybe what are some solutions? What are some solutions you guys think, in addition to the ones I mentioned, as far as like how men can start working towards becoming better men and not giving into these sexual impulses? Um, you guys make sure you guys check out these other videos here on faith, mental health, and relationships. And until next time, y'all take care of yourselves and take care of each other.